Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilizations, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captivated audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on Code Flix.
Hello and welcome to Code Flix, the podcast where we take a deep dive into your favorite sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies. I'm Andre Bonner, and in today's episode, we'll be looking at the 1979 movie Alien. This is a popular culture favorite. It has been referenced and parodied in so many ways. I simply could not miss the chance to do an episode of this beloved classic. Alien is a 1979 science fiction horror film directed by Ridley Scott and written by Dan O'Bannon. Based on a story by O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett, it follows the crew of the commercial space tug Nostromo, who, after coming across a mysterious derelict spaceship on an uncharted planetoid, find themselves up against a deadly and aggressive extraterrestrial loose within their vessel. The film stars Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, and Yaphet Kotto. It was produced by Gordon Carroll, David Giler, and Walter Hill through their company Brandywine Productions and was distributed by 20th Century Fox. Giler and Hill revised and made additions to the script. Shusett was the executive producer. The alien and its accompanying artifacts were designed by Swiss artist H.R. Geiger, while concept artists Ron Cobb and Chris Foss designed the more human settings. Alien premiered on May 25, 1979, as the opening night of the 4th Seattle International Film Festival. Presented in 70mm at midnight, it received a wide release on June 22nd and was released on September 6 in the United Kingdom. It was met with mixed reviews on release, but was a box office success, winning the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, 3 Saturn Awards, Best Science Fiction Film, Best Direction for Scott, and Best Supporting Actress for Cartwright, and a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation. Critical reassessment since then has resulted in Alien being widely considered one of the greatest and most influential science fiction and horror films of all time. In 2002, Alien was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress and was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. In 2008, it was ranked by the American Film Institute as the 7th best film in the science fiction genre and as the 33rd greatest film of all time by Empire. The success of Alien spawned a media franchise of films, books, video games, and toys, and propelled Weaver's acting career. The story of her character's encounter with the alien creatures become the thematic and narrative core of the sequels Aliens 1986, Alien 3 1992, and Alien Resurrection 1997. A crossover with the Predator franchise produced the Alien vs. Predator films, while a 2-film prequel series was directed by Scott before the upcoming film Alien Romulus 2024. The commercial space tug Nostromo is returning to Earth with a 7-member crew in stasis. Captain Dallas, Executive Officer Kane, Warrant Officer Ripley, Navigator Lambert, Science Officer Ash, and engineers Parker and Brett. The ship's computer, Mother, detects a transmission from a nearby moon and awakens the crew. Following company policy to investigate any systemized transmission indicating intelligent origin, they land on the moon and Dallas, Kane, and Lambert head out to investigate the signal's origin. The party discovers that it is from a derelict alien spaceship. Inside, they find the remains of a large alien with a hole in its torso. Mother later deciphers part of the transmission, which Ripley determines is actually a warning message. Kane discovers a chamber containing hundreds of large eggs. While he touches one, a spider-like creature springs out, penetrates his helmet, and attaches itself to his face. Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the Nostromo. As the acting science officer, Ripley refuses to let them aboard, citing quarantine regulations, but Ash overrides her decision and lets them inside. The crew returns to space, and Ash attempts to remove the creature from Kane's face, but stops when he discovers that it is extremely corrosive acidic blood could hurt Kane and potentially damage the ship's hull. It eventually detaches itself and is found dead. Kane awakes with some memory loss but otherwise seems fine. During a final crew meal before returning to stasis, he suddenly chokes and convulses. A small alien creature bursts from Kane's chest, killing him, and escapes into the ship. After ejecting Kane's body out of an airlock, the crew attempts to locate the alien with tracking devices and kill it. Brett follows the crew's pet cat, Jones, into a landing leg compartment where the now fully grown alien attacks Brett and disappears with his body. The crew determines the alien must be in the air ducts. Dallas enters the ducts with a flamethrower, intending to force the alien into an airlock, but it ambushes and seemingly kills him. Lambert implores that they abandon ship and flee in an escape shuttle, but Ripley, now in command, explains it will not support 4 people and insists on continuing Dallas' plan of flushing out the alien. Accessing Mother, Ripley discovers the company has secretly ordered Ash to return with the alien for study and to consider the crew expendable. She confronts Ash, who tries to kill her, but Parker intervenes and clubs Ash, knocking his head loose and revealing him to be an android. The survivors reactivate Ash's head, who confirms the company's orders and states that the alien is unkillable. While expressing his admiration for it and taunting them about their chances for survival, Ripley shuts him down and Parker incinerates him. The remaining crew decides to self-destruct the Nostromo and escape in the shuttle. However, Parker and Lambert are ambushed and killed by the alien while gathering supplies. Now on her own, Ripley initiates the self-destruct sequence, but finds the alien blocking her path to the shuttle. She retreats, attempts unsuccessfully to abort the self-destruct, flees back to the ship with Jones, and narrowly escapes as the Nostromo explodes. As Ripley prepares for stasis, she discovers that the alien is aboard, having stowed itself into a narrow compartment. She dons a spacesuit and flushes the creature out. It approaches Ripley, but before it can kill her, she opens an airlock door. The alien manages to hang on, but Ripley fires a grappling hook gun to push it out, and then fires the engines, blasting it away into deep space. After recording her final log entry, She places Jones and herself into stasis for the trip back to Earth. Here are some key themes and symbols in Alien. Themes. Survival. The primary theme of Alien is survival. The crew members of the Nostromo are faced with a life and death struggle against an almost invincible alien organism. The film examines the lengths to which individuals will go to survive and the instinctual drive to protect oneself in the face of extreme danger. Isolation and helplessness. The setting of deep space emphasizes the theme of isolation and helplessness. The crew is cut off from any form of help or rescue, creating a claustrophobic and tense atmosphere. This isolation heightens a sense of fear and vulnerability as they confront the alien threat. Corporate greed and exploitation. The film critiques corporate greed and exploitation through the actions of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. The company's willingness to sacrifice the crew for the potential profit of acquiring the alien organism reflects the darker aspects of corporate ethics and the dehumanizing nature of profit-driven motives. Human versus non-human. Alien explores the boundaries between human and non-human entities. The alien itself is a terrifying non-human force of nature, representing the unknown and the uncontrollable. Additionally, the android Ash blurs the line between human and machine, raising questions about trust and the nature of humanity. Fear of the unknown. The film taps into primal fears of the unknown and the unknowable. The alien creature and its mysterious life cycle and deadly abilities embodies the terror of encountering something entirely beyond human understanding and control. Symbols. The alien, xenomorph. The alien creature designed by H.R. Giger symbolizes pure predatory instinct and the ultimate fear of the unknown. Its life cycle, involving parasitic implantation and violent birth, represents a horrifying perversion of natural processes. The Nostromo. The spaceship Nostromo serves as a symbol of isolation and entrapment. Its dark labyrinthine corridors create a claustrophobic environment that enhances the sense of dread and confinement. The ship's name, derived from Joseph Conrad's novel, hints at themes of corruption and moral ambiguity. The chestburster scene. This iconic scene, where an alien larva violently bursts from Kane's chest, symbolizes the fear of internal invasion and bodily horror. It represents the ultimate violation of the human body and the uncontrollable nature of the alien threat. Ash, the android. Ash, the ship's science officer, who is revealed to be an android, symbolizes the deceptive nature of corporate interests and the blending of human interests and machine. His betrayal of the crew's trust underscores the theme of corporate exploitation and ethical ambiguities of artificial intelligence. The alien egg and facehugger. The alien egg and its initial form, the facehugger, symbolizes the parasitic and invasive nature of the alien species. The facehugger's method of reproduction through forced implantation and its relentless grip on the host's face evoke deep-seated fears of suffocation and loss of autonomy. Ripley's cat, Jonesy. Jonesy, the ship's cat, serves as a symbol of normalcy and domesticity. Amidst the horror, the cat's presence provides moments of tension, relief, and highlights Ripley's humanity and compassion, contrasting with the alien's merciless nature. Alien masterfully combines science fiction and horror elements to explore some profound themes, especially with survival, corporate exploitation, isolation, and the fear of the unknown. The symbols that are so present in this film, they really enhance its atmospheric tension and enduring impact. And the film's success is due to this ability to be able to evoke these deep-seated fears and present a gripping and thought-provoking narrative. And it does resonate with most audiences. Here's a character analysis of the main characters. Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver. Ripley is the film's protagonist and a warrant officer on the Nostromo. She is intelligent, resourceful, and resilient. Ripley's pragmatic approach and leadership qualities become crucial as the crew faces the alien threat. Her character represents strength and determination, and she emerges as a pioneering female action hero. Dallas, played by Tom Skerritt. Dallas is the captain of the Nostromo. He is calm and authoritative, making decisions to ensure the crew's safety. However, his leadership is challenged by the unforeseen dangers of the alien. Dallas's character highlights the burden of command and the unpredictability of space exploration. Ash, played by Ian Holm. Ash is the science officer of the Nostromo. He is portrayed as logical and detached. However, it is later revealed that Ash is an android with a secret agenda to ensure the alien survival, even at the expense of the crew. His character explores the themes of corporate control and the ethical implications of artificial intelligence. Lambert, played by Veronica Cartwright. Lambert is the Nostromo's navigator. She is emotional and reacts strongly to the alien threat, providing a contrast to the other crew members' more composed reactions. Lambert's character emphasizes the human aspect of fear and vulnerability in the face of an unknown menace. Parker, played by Yaphet Kotto. Parker is a chief engineer and a pragmatic, no-nonsense character. He is vocal about his concerns and skeptical of Ash's decisions. Parker's practical approach and bravery are pivotal in the crew's efforts to survive. His character brings a grounded perspective to the crew's dynamic. Brett, played by Harry Dean Stanton. Brett is Parker's engineering assistant. He is laid back and tends to follow Parker's lead. Brett's character, while less dominant, highlights the blue-collar nature of the crew and the everyday realities of their work. His death marks the beginning of the alien's deadly rampage. Kane, played by John Hurt. Kane is the executive officer who becomes the first victim of the alien after being attacked by the facehugger. His character's fate is central to the film's iconic and horrifying chestburster scene. Kane's curiosity and subsequent victimization underscore the dangers of space exploration and the unknown. The alien, xenomorph. The alien creature, designed by H.R. Giger, represents the ultimate predator, intelligent, adaptable, and lethal. The xenomorph's life cycle and relentless nature embody pure survival and instinct, creating a pervasive sense of dread and horror. The film's tense atmosphere and groundbreaking effects make it a landmark in both science fiction and horror dramas, especially with the characters themselves bringing to life some of the most captivating performances and help to propel some of the actors to new heights. Here's a detailed overview of the production and design. Production. Directors and writers. Directed by Ridley Scott, whose vision and meticulous attention to detail shaped the film's iconic look and feel. Written by Dan O'Bannon, who also conceived the original story with Ronald Shusett. Filming locations. Filming took place at Shepperton Studios in the UK. The sets were constructed to create the claustrophobic and industrial feel of the spaceship Nostromo. Design, visual effects and cinematography. The film utilized practical effects, including models and miniatures, to create the Nostromo and the alien environments. Cinematography by Derek Van Lint emphasized dark, shadowy visuals to build suspense and fear. The use of handheld cameras and close-ups added to the tension and realism. Set design. Production designer Michael Seymour, along with art directors Roger Christian and Leslie Dilley, created the gritty, industrial interiors of the Nostromo. The ship's design was intended to look functional and lived in, enhancing the film's realism. H.R. Geiger designed the alien and its various stages, as well as the derelict spaceship where the crew first encounters the alien eggs. Geiger's biomechanical designs are a significant part of the film's unique aesthetic. Creature design. H.R. Geiger design for the alien, also known as xenomorph, is one of the most iconic aspects of the film. The creature's life cycle from egg to chestburster to adult is both horrifying and innovative. The facehugger and chestburster stages of the alien's life cycle were designed to evoke visceral fear and discomfort, employing practical effects and puppetry for realism. Costume design. Costume designer John Molo created practical and functional attire for the Nostromo crew, emphasizing their roles as blue-collar workers in space. The spacesuits and uniforms added to the film's realistic, working-class aesthetic. Sound design and music. Jerry Goldsmith composed the film's score, which combines orchestral and electronic elements to create a haunting, suspenseful atmosphere. The sound design played a crucial role in building tension with the sounds of the Nostromo's machinery, the aliens' movements, and the eerie silence of space, enhancing the sense of dread. Reception and legacy. Alien received critical reception, widespread acclaim for its direction, performances, and groundbreaking design. It was praised for its ability to generate suspense and fear, and with particular commendation for Sigourney Weaver's performance as Ripley. The film won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects and was nominated the Best Art Direction. It also received numerous other accolades and nominations. Alien is regarded as a landmark film in both the science fiction and horror genres. It spawned a successful franchise, including sequels, prequels, and crossovers with the Predator series. Ripley became an iconic character, and the film's influence is seen in numerous other works of science fiction and horror. Alien had set new standards for production and design, especially with some of the creature effects and the portrayal of a strong female protagonist in the film. It blends atmospheric horror and science fiction and has inspired countless filmmakers and remains a benchmark for creating tension and terror on screen. So here are my personal insights and interpretations of the movie Alien, including some of my favorite moments. The parallels to Star Wars and the way how they got the starships moving in the sequences. If you were to look at it as a shot for shot or scene for scene comparison, you would notice that both movies can be shown as a similar thing, and it was deliberately done that way. Of course, the producer, director of the movie Alien was a fan of the Star Wars saga and the films. In the first few minutes, it seemed to slowly build up, and it allowed us to get a feel for this cinematic world that we can explore. We get to see the interior of the ship, different areas in the ship, and it's almost like just telling us that this is where all of what we're going to see in this movie will take place. These are where they sleep. This is where they eat. This is where they work. This is the ship, the bridge of a ship. As the crew is awakened from the stasis, there is almost like a first breath that is taken. It's almost like a baby being born. And then once they're born, first thing they want is food, right? So everyone gathers around to eat and to socialize. This is where we get a feel for each character, each crew member. Who are they? What are they about? What are they interested in? What motivates them? What drives them? When Dallas checks in with Mother, we realize that there is something off about how they are directed to proceed. We notice that even Dallas himself is unsure of the directive he's being given to carry out. What is this signal that they're receiving? Why isn't there much data on it? Is it a cry for help? Is it a warning? We don't know at this point. The planetoid or moon is one of the most spookiest looking ones I've seen. I can tell you. When I saw that scene of that planetoid and just the way how it looked, I have to say that it never sat with me well. The alien spaceship was gigantic, and the humans seemed like little small creatures inside of it. Based on what I saw of it, it just seemed like everything, the scale of things was out there, was much, much greater. Even the ship itself looked like it was an alien. It had the looks of the xenomorph. There were designs and patterns all around that just makes you say, this is definitely something out of this world. This is not human. This is not natural in the way how it looks. Rule number 1 in discovering a weird looking egg shaped object that seems to drip liquid. Never place your face near said egg when it suddenly opens. I mean, the egg flops open, and this guy, his curiosity got the better of him. He decided to look. And of course, what proceeds can define some people's nightmares. The facehugger latches on to the helmet and it sits on his face, burn through the helmet. Now, what I know of space suit and space technology, they are supposed to be designed, especially the helmet, they're supposed to be designed to keep out certain things. They should be strong enough to keep out anything. Micrometeorites, those are very sharp objects that floating through space at times, and they can fly through material in a matter of seconds and do some damage. Even spacecrafts have had that issue. And to have a alien with a corrosive acid melt through your helmet and then attach itself to its face, that took a lot. I find it weird that after all of this occurs, he has to be rescued by his fellow crewmates who want to help him, They want to help him out, and they don't want him to not get the help to prolong his life to save him. And so they're willing to do anything. They're willing to even violate normal quarantine regulations. Now, these regulations are put in for a particular reason. They are usually put in to ensure the safety and integrity of crew. And when you see they have made this decision that they're going to waive all of that to save someone, it's serious. And of course, the science officer who is expected to be the one that is enforcing these kind of regulations, because it's along the lines of science that we can't do things like that, because that's the first thing you learn in science class is safety. Safety first, always. And he allows them to violate quarantine. Even Ripley chimed in, and she was overruled. And immediately, you realize that wasn't good, because the captain should have known better, should not have overruled her. He should have at least considered what she said and, figured out a different way to address the problem. So they bring him on board, and Ash attempts to save Kane's life, quote unquote, by trying and failing to remove the creature from his face. And I say quote unquote because creature at this point is his priority. He's trying to preserve the creature, not necessarily help Kane. And that was his motive, to get him to come in this point. Of course, it wasn't apparent at this point in the movie when I first watched it. But of course, in rewatching it, I realized that this was where he started to make his move, as it were. The creature's skin seems to be tough, and its blood appears to be corrosive acid strong enough to damage the ship's hull. So I did mention that the acid burned through the helmet. At the time, I didn't consider it at that time, but upon rewatching, I realized that that's what happened. And we saw the way how the helmet was damaged, right? We saw that damage burnt in that direction. And so this is something serious, something dangerous that they have brought on board. Kane is now freed of this alien parasite. We don't know at the point where it went, but we did realize that Kane is up and he is looking chirpy like himself in some ways. Yes, he cannot remember for some reason. His memory about the event might be some kind of neurological chemical that causes brain, right? But at that point, he's up and he's looking okay to the crew. And that's a normal reaction for anybody to be like, okay, look all right. But again, we are not dealing with the regular circumstances. So at this point, some kind of intervention in terms of medical checkup, examination should have occurred. That's all I'm saying. Probably if they did an x-ray, they would have picked up something. Then, of course, upon the first viewing of the movie, this scene, this iconic scene, where they're once more gathered to break bread and socialize once more, is interrupted when Kane chokes, and he seems to choke for a bit. Listener discretion is advised. Skip ahead if you cannot continue this point, and we're going into some very dark territory. So Kane chokes a bit, then convulses. And then we see him kind of fitting like he's going into a seizure. And they have to hold him, restrain him, to ensure that he doesn't hurt himself, not knowing what's happening. Then we start to hear a ripping sound from within. Everyone gets up except for Ash at this point. On first viewing, it seemed pretty okay-ish that he didn't rush over because everybody else was there already. So probably didn't want to bundle. Or, when somebody faints, the initial reaction is to want to go over to help someone. But sometimes you have to remember that sometimes people need air in that point in time. So you don't want to block off the air supply at that area so that the person can get air. So it didn't seem like anything, but upon second watching, you can see where he's observing. It's as if he expected something to happen and he was waiting on it. And of course, that something to happen would be when Kane's chest burst open from the inside. At this moment, the inclination is to skip ahead or look away. If you are used to seeing certain things, this is where you would start to think, hey, I need to either skip or look away because I don't want to get triggered. His chest bursts open, as I said before, and this little thing pops up like a little baby looking around in its new environment. Then it scurries off before anyone can even catch it, because in that moment, persons would be surprised, you're wondering what this is. You're not sure what to do in this particular circumstance because it just happens within an instant. And only if you were cognizant of what is happening, you would be able to say, okay, let me see if we can catch it. So Kane lies there, dead, of course, and Buddy starts to come through and think about, all right, we need to focus on now catching and killing this little fucker. Because after seeing this now happening, you don't want a repeat. You don't know what's going to happen next because everything that you thought you understood about what was happening in the situation has just flipped. And so you have to take up arms. And of course, the crew, they outnumber this little shit. So they would have the upper hand, right? Right? Poor Brett. He follows Jonesy the cat and is the first to get taken by the now mature alien. So the alien has matured and is on the prowl. In a short space of time, it has left its larval stage and now it has grown arms and legs and a wicked tail. Well, it had the tail from before, so the tail has grown longer. So now that I realize that it is grown and huge enough, the tactic has changed. It can't be just killing a simple little things. We have to regroup. We have to find some way to damage it. And this thing is tough. Its skin is tough. We know that from trying to initially damage it. Or we know that it spits acid. So they start tracking it. And they found it hiding in the air duct. And of course, Dallas, he takes charge as a leader should. And he goes in with his flamethrower. But of course, that wouldn't be enough. He gets taken and leaves Ripley in charge. Now, of course, Lambert is quite perturbed about this, and she makes it known. At this point, she's had enough. And all she wants to do is to go home. She wants to get home safe. And it's the most rational feeling that you can have when you're in a situation like this, in a circumstance like this. So she's thinking it makes sense that we all just get into the escape shuttle and leave. Of course, Ripley reminds her, hey, the escape shuttle, it does not hold more than 3 because you have to go into stasis and you have to have the amount of life support and all of that cannot support more than 3 persons. And a cat, of course. Now, Ripley, who has now access to Mother, she decides to get to the bottom of what is happening because she's now putting certain things together, although she doesn't have the full picture at this point. And you can see it in the question that she asks Ash and the way how she got the answers. She said, okay, since you don't know what we need to do in this case, let me go ask Mother, which is the ship's computer. So she goes and she sits down and she asks Mother about what's happening. And Mother tells her this mission is classified and only Ash, the science officer, knows the full length of it. And of course, that is a sinking feeling. You can see it in the way how Ripley is portrayed there, that she sinks into that feeling of, oh crap, what is going on here? So she pushes Mother to give her the information. She figures out that the mission all along was to go to that planetoid or moon and discover what was there. Because apparently they knew that much. They probably didn't know the full length of it. They know it was dangerous, but they didn't know how dangerous it was. So Ash, realizing that the truth is out and she knows, attempts to kill her with a magazine by forcing it down her throat. Can you imagine? After Parker intervenes and bashes Ash's head, he realizes he's an android. And it all comes full circle now that the company that hired them put this science officer / android with them for this purpose, to ensure that the mission was completed, no matter what the human cost in life would be. His true purpose, he tells them, was to bring back a live specimen. And he knew that they could not survive, that their chances of survival was near zero. The remaining crew decides that, okay, we need to abandon ship, escape in the escape pod, and activate the self-destruct. So they prepare to depart. However, the fucking alien takes out Parker and Lambert one by one. And this is where you realize the full extent of this alien's intelligence, because it's not just like acting on instinct, it's also learning and adapting to the situation. It realizes that it doesn't have much time to do what it needs to do. It realizes what it must do. So Ripley is alone with Jonesy, the alien blocking her only way off of the almost yet to be self-destructed ship. And suddenly an opening, and she makes a run for the shuttle just in time before the ship explodes. Now, thinking that the alien probably was still on the ship at the time when the explosion occurred, Ripley is relieved she's on her way home. So she decides to relax. She puts Jonesy into the stasis pod. She strips down so that she can comfortably ride in the stasis pod. But something happens. She realizes she's not alone. The xenomorph had snuck aboard the escape shuttle. And perhaps that's why it was there, was waiting on her. It knew where she was going. Ripley eventually finds a way to outsmart the alien. She dons a spacesuit. She ejects that alien, that fucking alien, out of the shuttle. Then fires a rocket to send it flying off into space. And of course, that very last scene where you see her kind of looking almost dismayed and unsure of what is happening that would happen to anyone who has been through something as traumatic as this. So here are some of my theories, and there are some unresolved mysteries that I have questions about. Why didn't the science officer Ash examine the alien spaceship? And I can understand where we are probably saying, okay, the persons who are most equipped, most experienced with doing this kind of activity, let them do it. But I would assume that someone on the team would need to have at least some knowledge of the sciences, someone who can follow the evidence, someone who can use the scientific method to figure out some of the simple little things that needs to be done. Similar to the way they have regulations or protocols in place for quarantine measures, there must be some regulations. I'm assuming that the idea of this particular race of humans who are exploring the stars and are able to do mining, they would have some regulations or protocols that are involved in this. Probably it has been waived in this case, and the reason why he didn't accompany them is because he realized what was going to happen. But I don't think he foresaw all of what did occur. I think it was just the idea to say, let's keep him at a distance from them. And it's for them to bring the item or the object to him, for him to examine, for him to do his science. Why did the facehugger melt the helmet but not Kane's face? And I consider this as something crazy because I'm just thinking that it's not like you know for sure how much pressure you're putting onto something. You, even if you were to punch a glass with your fist, and you know that punching the glass, or you have the idea that punching a glass would break it at a particular point and in a particular fashion, that it won't cause damage to your hand or cause damage to whatever is behind that glass. So, and I'm thinking of the way that acids, corrosive liquids flow, they're fluids, those fluids flow. So, when did they know to stop? Probably I'm thinking too deeply. You can let me know. But that's, something that might keep me up tonight. Because I still be wondering if what I'm saying makes sense or if there is another level to it I'm not seeing. Share your own thoughts in the comments, of course. Why didn't we see when the facehugger leaves Kane's face? And it's something I think about in terms of it was a masterful part of the plot, but at the same time, we could have got a glimpse of it, perhaps unwinding its tentacle from around his neck, or at least seeing it scurrying off, just as how we saw the alien that popped out of his chest scurrying off. I mean, we as the audience and not necessarily the crew might just be wondering, but we as the audience could have gotten a glimpse into that. But perhaps it would have given away the game that the alien just let him loose. But it died, so it could be a case where it could be shown that this creature decided to end its life by going off his face instead of dying on his face. But perhaps that was even a part of the creature's plan to not arouse suspicion, to leave Cain and to not make it look as if, and if Cain awakens, to have something on his face would be quite the thing, eh? How comes they never find it a bit strange that the creature just dead so? And from my understanding of a little bit of biology and some science, some creatures, once they infect or they sting, they die, because that mechanism for them is what causes them to lose whatever supporting, life sustaining substance or biological mechanism in the body of the creature. So I'm thinking that yes, that could be an explanation in terms of it had planted the egg in Cain, and so it was just a matter of time for it to die. Perhaps it stuck around to ensure that the gestational period was kept, perhaps, and that's why it didn't just die as it did. It laid the egg, and I assume it didn't take long for it to do that. Why didn't they try to examine Cain to ensure that there were no side effects? Of course, this is something that, obviously, to me, someone has been through something, no matter what it is. Even if you are in an accident and there's no visible signs of trauma or damage, you are always supposed to get checked out by a physician to ensure that there isn't anything underlying that we can't see. And so I think that was a bundling there. It's not necessarily an issue on the plot, because by doing that, we didn't have to go into this other point of trying to find some way for it to make sense if we didn't want to show that this was going to happen. Or it could be that as soon as they're ready to examine him, something happened at that point. So that could have been a point to put on it. But either way, how it played out in the film was great. It's just me thinking that this could be an alternative. What happens to the body of the crew? Now, I have watched the theatrical cut, and this is something that was not present. The scene was not present in the theatrical cut, but in the director's cut, we would have saw the bodies being converted into eggs, and that is something to see. I guess probably that's why it wasn't in a theatrical release, because it would have been probably too jarring, or even more on top of all that is happening in the film. But yeah, that would have resolved that particular question that I had initially, about the bodies. And of course, the alien is big enough; it can lift them and carry them away, like a spider that spins its prey up into its webs for later digestion. But in this case, they are turned into eggs to lay other aliens, hinting at the second movie here. But that is something that we can cover in another podcast episode. Share your favorite moments and your theories of how you thought the movie Alien went. Whether you agreed with some of my theories and my interpretations, or you thought that there was more questions that needed answers to. So in this episode, we looked at the movie Alien, and how one single alien, one xenomorph, could do so much destruction and turn a ship of 7 crew members into one. We looked at the themes and symbols in this movie. We looked at the character analysis of all the main characters. We looked at the production and design, what went into making this beloved popular culture iconic movie. We looked at my theories and my interpretations. So at this time, I'd like to encourage you to subscribe and follow the podcast for future deep dives in a world of science fiction. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. We're on a road to 500. Let's do it, guys. See you next time.